Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Considering Grace. I just wanted to share my journaling entry with you today. As you can see, I'm taking some tracing paper there that I traced a lion from my iPad. I just traced it straight on the iPad onto some tracing paper and went over it with my medium point Sharpie. And then I just went and put it behind my Bible page and was able to see the lines through that, and then just traced it with pencil. I am not somebody that's very good at drawing or very experienced at drawing, so this was a way that I could get a half decent sketch without erasing the page too many times. So as you can see there, I'm using Artist Loft watercolor pencils, which I don't know, I don't think they're the best out there. They were pretty cheap, but I really can't complain either. I've used them several times and have been pretty happy with the results. I'm just using some Distress ink there, and the color I'm using is Wild Honey. And basically I am just using the Wild Honey as a background for my lion. As I explained already, the verse that I'm using today is from Proverbs chapter 28, verse 1, and I'll read it to you. It says, "The wicked man flees though no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion." And I got this verse from the Bible Art Journaling Challenge, which is a group on Facebook that is led by Rebecca Jones. And basically it's a weekly challenge using different mediums, different verses, and basically it's a lesson, a Bible devotion and a mini art lesson tied into one. And Rebecca leads us through that, and then she lets us create the verse in our own way in our Bibles. So this is my take on this verse, which was a challenge from several weeks ago. So basically, as I mentioned, I'm using the Artist Loft watercolor pencils, and the colors I'm using are light brown, medium brown, dark brown, and black. And I'm basically going over the pencil lines that I drew from tracing off of the tracing paper. I have to say, although there was a few steps involved in doing it this way, by tracing it off of the iPad, going over it in black ink, and then tracing it into my Bible page, and then coloring it, it was fairly easy. And for not being somebody that has a lot of experience with drawing and sketching, I was pretty pleased with the way it turned out. So if you're not somebody that has a lot of experience like me, it was pretty simple, minus the steps involved. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking different shades of brown and going over my pencil lines that I drew. And the picture that I traced from off of the iPad, there was a lot more shading on the right side of the lion's face. So I am trying to use some of the darker colors on the right side. And there I'm just taking, I believe it's the medium brown, and I'm just shading over his whole face and mane just to get some color on there. So there you can see he's got some more color on his face now. And I'm just taking a different shade there. I believe that's the dark brown. And just filling in some of the areas again. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking a really small paintbrush and just adding a tiny bit of water and going over the lines of his mane. And I'm being careful not to apply too much water. The more water that you apply, the more likely the page is going to ripple and curl. So I'm trying not to use too much water. Now I have to admit, at this point I wasn't very happy with the way it was coming together. I didn't think his face was really looking the way I wanted it to. But as I continue painting and there's more definition coming to his face, it started to come together for me. So I'm just using the heat tool there to dry up the paint and just dabbing a couple areas that were a little bit more wet. And now I'm using my Sharpie pen again, and this is a medium tip pen, and I'm just going over the little parts of his muzzle where the whiskers stem from. And I'm also using the black to define around his eyes. The picture that I got off the iPad had really defined black eyes and a black nose, and so I'm using the Sharpie to go over those points. I found that the black watercolor pencil was just not a very, very true black. It just came out more like a gray. And I'm just adding a little bit more color and a bit more Sharpie. As you can see, just since filling in the eyes there, it just added a lot more definition to his face. I think that made a real big difference. And now I'm just going ahead and adding some whiskers. And his face is just coming together a bit better now. So I'm taking my distress marker and I am just underlining the verse in my Bible. And now what I'm reaching for is a couple stickers from the Simple Stories collection called I Am. And I'm reaching for the sticker there. It says I am. And then the second one I've got there is brave. You could do this with a stamp, or you could handwrite it, do it in your own lettering if you want, if you don't have those stickers specifically. And now I'm just putting the date stamp on. And that is finished. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And please definitely give this a try, even if you are not familiar with drawing or sketching. It really wasn't as hard as it seems. So I encourage you to try it. Take care. God bless.